Hey everyone, I was out in my backyard this morning doing some landscaping, and I took a break to lean on my shovel and check Twitter, and I saw the big news out of Cloud9 that Zven is being sent down to Academy for the start of the summer split, and k1ng is being promoted into the starting bot lane role for the team. They also announced that Reignover and Mythy are swapping job titles, but I think you can check into their content for that, and I don't really have any specific comments to make about it. The bot lane news is the big one. And this is something that I think is really, really interesting and really exciting in a lot of ways, and I have a very positive take on it all. So I want to share my thoughts on it, why I think this is happening, and why I think it's a really great call. So first of all, I want to draw attention to the fact that k1ng has earned this. This is not just, I think the reaction from most people is going to be, Zven was demoted. Oh no, why did they, we thought Zven was pretty good. He's one of the best bot laners in the LCS. Why are they demoting Zven? Why did they bench him? Right? And that's going to be, I think, what most of the conversation is about. But I think you can very well and in just as much balance approach the topic from the other side. k1ng earned this with his play over the past year and a half. So I really think it's worth talking about this as a k1ng promotion, not just a Zven demotion. Going into the spring split this year, k1ng very well could have been in the LCS, maybe not in Cloud9, but on another team. The only reason he wasn't really is because Cloud9 set such a high price tag on buying him out that teams just couldn't justify it. And it had nothing to do with whether or not k1ng was good enough to play in the LCS. k1ng is good enough to be in the LCS. He is an LCS quality bot laner, and there's not really much debate about that. He's not a rookie. He's not an unproven player. Okay, this is a guy who has been a pro since 2015. He's played almost 300 games in the OPL before coming to North America at the start of 2020 to play for C9 Academy. That 2020 spring split, he was head and shoulders above every other Academy player. He was, an undebatable Academy MVP in that spring split. Visa issues kept him out for the summer, and then we came into this year and he's playing again in spring and one of the best players in Academy this spring, although a lot more. I think the overall talent level in Academy has risen this spring. So him not being head and shoulders above everybody else isn't a comment on his play declining. It's, he has more competition now, but he's very much earned it with how well he's played. If you don't know much about him, his greatest strength as a bot laner is his lane dominance and really wanting to smash people 2v2. Not quite to the same extent as like an FBI with the FBI Huhi pairing, but somewhat of a similar profile there. But he's definitely rounded out his team fighting a little bit more lately. His most memorable moments this spring have been things like a really big Tristana carries in the late game team fights and so on. But he's still, I think, at heart a lane dominant player, and that's going to be interesting to see paired up with Vulcan. And it's also worth pointing out that when k1ng did come into Academy with Cloud9, he was playing with Fudge in that 2020 spring split. And so they have that experience with each other. And when k1ng was in the lineup, Fudge played a lot more weak side and a lot more tanks. And the meta had a little bit to do with it, but really it was the matter of C9 Academy played through k1ng, and sometimes they would let Fudge do his carrying. And once k1ng couldn't play in the summer split, that's when Fudge took on this huge carry profile in Academy. And did all of that. And honestly, Fudge didn't perform quite as well in the summer split, I would say, without k1ng there to kind of counterbalance the map. So those two have played together, and I'm really, really curious to see how C9 use them and which side of the map they play through more, what kind of team profile they create out of them, but they have that experience playing together. I also think it's worth commenting on the fact that the timing for this move to me is really perfect. And this is where I think you can really dig into why is this move being made and why now, coming out of MSI and all of that. I think you can look at, the way Cloud9 had played at MSI and try to look for clues about how was Zven performing. Were they happy with how he played? Were they not? You can remember Zven getting caught in that Elder fight, but I don't really think it's about... I think that there might be some takeaways from Zven's play in MSI and them saying, maybe we want to try something different here. Maybe they weren't quite happy with it, but I don't think that's really telling the crux of the story. The real thing is that k1ng is an asset in the organization, and he has been for 18 months, and they haven't been able to really get value out of that asset. They haven't been able to sell him and make money off of, having been the ones to sign him and bring him over in the first place. And they haven't been able to put him up in LCS and find out yet, is he going to be able to translate that OPL and that Academy performance into the LCS? So if you want to talk about him being, unproven or whatever, sure, he hasn't played in the LCS level against that level of opposition. So there's some level of wanting to see him against that level of opponent. This is the perfect time to try him out in the LCS and see whether you can kind of increase the value of that asset. It's really low risk. Right, summer is a triple round robin, so each individual game carries less weight in the overall results. And the spring record carries over. So Cloud9 have a little bit of cushion to play with here. They could throw away the first 2 or 3 weeks and lose them all finding out how good King is and still be able to, work their way up to the playoffs and be in a decent spot. So there's really low risk to this move in terms of the competitive value of the games he's going to be playing at the start of the split. If this move works and King performs really well, then Cloud9 as a team gets better, right? The absolute best case scenario, I would say, for them is King turns out to be even better than Zven. Maybe better as an individual player, maybe a better fit for the team. The team just clicks a little better. That's the absolute best case scenario. But even if it doesn't, and I think that's stretching it a little bit to say that it's going to be, the utopian outcome. But there's also, if King just plays pretty well and acquits himself well, then his sale value can increase that much more, or at least the ease of sale increases, right? You can still say Zven is our long-term plan, but now it's going to be maybe that much easier to say, hey, look, you thought King was good before. We've just really proved it. Pay what we're asking. And teams might be that much more willing to pay what Cloud9 are asking to get King. So, I think the upside here is really, really high for Cloud9. And if it fails, if it goes really poorly, then they haven't lost that much because those games at the first few weeks of the season of the summer split don't count for that much. And they can re-promote Zven, right? As long as they've managed, I think the risk here is they have to manage their relationship with Zven, as long as they've communicated to him in a positive way and haven't, broken the relationship off that he wouldn't want to come back, or, that his attitude has been, hurt by it, or just the relationship stuff of it. As long as they've managed the relationship okay, and maybe there's even some communication around like, hey, MSI was intense, spring was intense, use this academy period as a time for like some mental restoration, not just about playing yourself back into form, but like take a break, have some fun, try to smash some people in academy, but don't worry too much about the outcome, and earn your way back in. And, as long as King is not MVP performance levels, Zven can still make his way back in, right? So like even the downside, I think, as long as they've managed the relationship with Zven okay, the downside is not that low. And the upside is really, really high, that they can either prove that they've got themselves a really good player that's going to upgrade their organization, or increase the value of their asset, get a better chance to sell him, or sell Zven, or whatever they want to choose to do there, right? So all in all, I think this move has me really excited. I've been a big believer in King ever since he came into Academy and started playing there and caught my attention. I think Cloud9 are making a really smart choice with the timing of when they're doing this. And as long as they are communicating internally well and managing those relationships, I think this is a really kind of a home run move with some risk involved, but a ton of reward. And I can't wait to see how it plays out and which of those different outcomes pan out and how it affects the rest of the league. So cheer for King, also cheer for Zven. I hope that he's taking this in a positive way and can still move forward with it and do well. And I think there's a pretty good chance that Zven will be back later in the summer, but maybe not. We'll have to see how that all works out. So really excited. I don't know what other roster news might come out, but I'll react to that as it comes out as well. And now I probably have a little more digging to do in the backyard, so I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think of my take. If nobody ever disagreed with what I was saying, it wouldn't be worth putting out there. So I want to hear from you whether you like what I was saying, whether you think I got it wrong somewhere. Either way, let's have that conversation. Make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. It really does help the channel grow a lot, so I appreciate it.